All right, guys. Well, welcome to our Thursday morning virtual coffee mastermind. I know you guys all know Thursday's my favorite day of the week because I get to spend it with you guys. It's so cool. And this week we have a special guest, someone who's fairly new to our community, but not new to real estate. If you saw the newsletter yesterday, you know that she's a third generation realtor. So it's kind of in her blood. And she's been a Tom Ferry coach, and she's a mentor with one of the newer cloud brokerages. That's really very cool. So I would love to have you guys meet Anne Rudd. She is going to be taking a little bit more active role in the group with some additional coaching things. We're gonna we're gonna use her as much as she will let us. We we appreciate everything that Ray does, and we keep him pretty busy. Giving you guys free trainings and stuff, and so Anne's offered to help out with that, and just make us all so much more efficient and better salespeople and help us. My two favorite things that I always say that I want to help you save time or make more money. And so Anne has agreed to come in and help us all do that. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn the floor over to Anne. And Anne, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Oh my goodness, it's such a pleasure to be here. I love being able to help agents, and I think that's kind of what I have evolved into. I'd rather not ever work with a buyer and seller again, although I don't think that will ever end. But agents are my favorite people. And part of the reason they're my favorite people is because I just don't think they get a fair shake when it comes to coaching and training. And especially if you've been in the business 5 years or less, I guarantee you some of the information you need to do your job better, you have not been gotten in front of. So I'm here to help you in that way. My difference, I'm a little different from Ray because I just think Ray's brilliant. And I am a boots on the ground skills person. So I'm here to help you actually be a better agent. Ray is here to help you be a better business person. So I think that's where the difference is. And I do not like Ray is so much smarter than I am, but I've been a real estate agent for 15 years. I've been licensed in 5 states. I got my license in 2008 when the market was doing this. And it was a blessing. I started doing REOs really quickly. I sold foreclosures, did short sales. I built a team before there were teams. I sold a team before people were selling teams. And then I had a big old no compete clause. So I had to move back to my home state of North Carolina, as you can tell from my beautiful accent. And I work the Charlotte, North Carolina, South Carolina market. So that is I'm home. I live on a farm. I raise horses. I sell real estate and I coach agents. And that is all the time I have, except in the fall when I go to the University of South Carolina football games because my kid is a drummer in the band. So that is my only other thing that I do. Don't call me on Saturday afternoons because I'll be down in Columbia watching my drummer. And fortunately, this is our last year. This is it. She's a senior in the fall, and she said, "Mom, I think I might go get my MBA first instead of going to law school so I can be in the band another year." And I said, "Not a chance." So today, what I want to talk to you about is it's really a basic pieces of information that I think all agents need to know if you are actively selling in our market or communicating market data to clients, customers, the public. And so I think that all agents need to be market experts. And so I want to talk to you just a little bit about what we're going to talk about and where we're going to find this data. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys. I'm not super smooth with this, so y'all be kind to me. But I do have this lovely thing to kind of help guide you through. So being the local market expert is how, you go into a listing appointment and beat all the other competition. Okay. One of the things Debbie asked me yesterday was what was my favorite book? And this is it. And I encourage all of you to take a look at this because it really talks about personality types and the types of people that you're going to be working with in the market. Not all of us are high D's and speaking like bullet points and bumper sticker like I do. Okay. Sometimes you've got clients that really need to see data. And especially in our market today, we've got so much competition. You've got to be able to separate yourself, and becoming the local market expert is so important. Clearly, I'm not the typing Canva expert because I can't put spaces between market mastery, so don't judge. But let's get into this so we can go through this quickly. Your value proposition, number one value proposition as an agent is knowing the market and being that market expert and being able to disseminate that information. Okay. So what we're going to cover today, we're going to go, what data we're going to focus on, what's most important, where are we going to find this data, and how to understand, interpret, and become that local expert. Okay. Now, here is the data that we're going to look at. We might look at some other pieces of information, but there are some very, very important data points that nobody is bringing to a listing appointment. I promise you. And I want you to be able to do this and also be able to communicate with your buyers. If you have a good handle on what that purchase market looks like, what's selling every month, what's going under contract, what's hanging out longer, this is going to help you be a better buyer's agent, not just a listing agent. Okay. So we're going to talk about active buyer demand by price. So we're going to talk about price bracketing and where are the most buyers by price. Anybody ever heard that one before? Okay. We're going to talk about the number of showings your seller needs to get an offer. This is another piece of important information that agents are ignoring. And I'm going to show you exactly where to find it. All right. Number of new listings. I think that's a very good piece of information. And if you are looking at this on a monthly basis, this is great. But if you get up every morning and look at what we call hot sheets, what houses were listed, what went under contract in the last 24 hours, you're going to have a really good bead on the market. Number of closed sales, number of closed sales yesterday. What happened last week? What happened last month? What happened last year? Okay. Average day on market, average home price, list price versus sale price, and the ever elusive absorption rate. About 7 times out of 10, when I talk to agents and ask them if they know how to calculate the absorption rate or where to find the absorption rate, they look at me like I have corn growing out of my ears. So we're going to discuss that just a little bit, okay? And then we're going to talk about where to find the data. This is important. We've got MLS reports. We have showing time. We have Altos research. I'm going to make a disclaimer here. Not all of you are going to have these MLS reports, but I'm going to show you where else you can find reports if you do not have, you're not blessed with the type of MLS that many of us do. Okay. And then, I don't think we're going to have time to communicate the data, but I think maybe if Debbie's kind to me, she will let me do this in another call. All right, so let's talk about this data. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this screen just a little bit, and we're going to go up to my MLS. Now, not all of us are going to have this type of portal. Not all of us are going to have this data, but I'm going to show you where I get my data from. Okay. This is my MLS portal. When I log into the MLS, I have this screen with all these little places I can click on. My
So Anna,
MLS.
we're
I've
not
got,
seeing that. We're just seeing
okay.
still
I'm
the
going to stop
blast.
share and then I'm going to reshare. Thank you. Told you I'm not good at this. Okay. I don't need a scanner. Here we go. How do you like that? How's this? Can you see me again? All right. So this is my portal. This is my MLS. This is showing time. And I'm going to go to a click on here called SAM. Sometimes this is called InfoSpark in some MLSs, but it's the same data. When you click on it, you're going to get some sort of graph. Okay. And I'm going to ignore this for a minute because I'm going to come up here to, I've got my little, here we go. I'm going to go up here to fast stats because this is going to be really important to get sort of a concise piece of information for you guys. Okay. Now this is my MLS. Everybody's going to have a different map. I have a very large MLS considering the shape of my state and the size of it. My MLS runs all the way from Charlotte up to the Virginia state line, the Tennessee state line, that little section of Georgia that touches North Carolina and South Carolina. So pretty much the full western part of North Carolina is my MLS. We are not going to look at all that because why? I don't need it. A lot of it is actually outside of the area that I would ever service. But for fun and giggles today, we're going to look at Mecklenburg County, which is the county that surrounds Charlotte, North Carolina. Okay. So we're going to pop in a very quick report. And this is something that if you have this statistical module within your MLS, you can pull this up by city, by zip, by region, by county. But today we're going to look at Mecklenburg County and statistics for the month of December 2023. Okay. Now I ignore year to date because I think it's too much data for my tiny little brain, but I do like to look at what happened December last year versus December this past year. Okay, so the 12-month difference, December 22, December 23, and we're going to look at things like new listings. And I'm going to go through this so that I can show you how I'm disseminating data. And I guarantee you, your market's going to look different from mine. Okay. So in the month of December, which is a slow month for us, we had 817 new listings pop up. Okay. That was an increase from the year before. And when I first look at this, I'm thinking, the interest rates came down a little bit in the end of the year versus the year before. So I'm thinking, okay, we might start seeing a little bit of an increase uptick in our market, more so than we've had in the last 12 months. Pending sales increased. They increased almost 10%, 9.2%. And our closed sales, however, decreased. Okay. And I am sure that had to do with the interest rates. Okay. The year before we still had sort of a spillover from that. Now, here's what's really interesting. The average sale price increased significantly. I think it's significantly. I'm never presumptive with people's money, but a $26,000 increase year over year in December, I think is a significant number. It is only 5.1%. However, in our market over the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen 20, 27, 30% increases in pricing. So this is definitely a bit of a retraction from what we've seen during COVID. However, we're still seeing a price increase. Okay. And that's significant. Now, one thing that I do like to look at if I'm in a listing presentation is what's the percentage of original list price average sellers are receiving in our market. This has increased, okay? And I think it has to do with the lack of inventory. But we are seeing an average of 97.6% of the list price becoming the sales price, okay? So there is your list price versus sales price ratio right there. Those are your numbers, okay? List to close is interesting. You know, it's dropped a little bit from the time it's listed to closed. Days on market until sale has also decreased 26% to 31 days. We've got a cumulative day on market that's decreased 15%. Take a look at our average sales or our average list price. Okay. Our inventory has reduced 30% almost. And here is where we're talking about our absorption rate. Okay. Absorption rate is a piece of data that is assuming that if homes are selling at the same rate month over month, how long will, and no more houses come on the market, how long will it take for all the homes in my MLS or in this county to be sold? And in this module right here, it's going to take 1.2 months. We do not have much inventory, but I looked for a couple of years back and we had 0.4 months of inventory. So our inventory has increased over the last couple of years, but in my market and as a general rule, looking at my career in real estate, having 1.2 months of inventory is crazy low. And it is indicative of the fact that I live in one of the most growing areas in the country. We do not have enough inventory to meet demand and probably won't for a significant amount of time. Okay. So like when people stop moving here. So this is a very concise piece of data you can print out and take to your listing appointment. If you like to do market update videos, this is something that you can add to that market update video. And I think it's going to show your skill. Now, every area of the country is going to be different. Okay. You guys, some of you might be in an area where there's been a much more retraction in the market and you've got more inventory than 1.2 months. You know, if you're looking at 3 to 4 months of inventory, you know, you're kind of in a balanced market. If you're 5, 6, 7, 8 months, you've got a buyer's market. And it's a significant piece of information to know. If you're seeing 6 months of inventory, you know that you got a buyer that can beat the crap out of a seller in a negotiation. And unfortunately, in my market, sellers are still commanding whatever kind of they want for their homes, even though that has brought down a little bit. We're not seeing some of the speculative listing, like, well, I'm going to throw my house on the market and see what I can get. So we're having a better market, but it's still sellers are commanding their own price. Okay. Now, let me see if I can come back. Debbie, you tell me if you can see
Map.
see me again. Are we back at Sam? Okay. Now, if you have Sam or InfoSpark or whatever you call it, you'll pop up and see a graph. This is actually my entire MLS. I'm actually going to add what we were looking at before, which was Mecklenburg County, because I want you to see the difference between Mecklenburg County and my entire MLS. Most of it's going to be a similar shape here, but down at the bottom of this this graph, I'll make this bigger for everybody. You can see these different areas you can click on. And one that I want to show you is the average sales price. Okay. And you can see what's going on in the market in my entire MLS versus my county. And this is one of the most expensive counties in the state, not probably the most, but one of the more expensive counties, certainly in my MLS. And so you can see that our average sales price in Mecklenburg County is 540, where in the entire MLS we're at 424. But I want to show you something, because this is tied to showing time. And if you use showing time in your market, your MLS is going to have this data somewhere. And this is an extremely important piece of data for you as a listing agent, and probably for you as a buyer's agent. You just have to do a little intel. So look, if you're a listing agent and you come in with a graph that looks like this and you say, Mr. Seller, according to my information, in December, it was taking 8.4 showings for a home. Actually, let's go here. Let's do showings depending. It took 10 showings on average for a house to go from active to under contract. So my goal here is in the first week and a half, 2 weeks that you're on the market, I got to get you 10 showings. Now your home might go under contract a little bit before then, with 8, 7 showings because your house is beautiful, or it may take a few more showings because we're kind of pushing the upper limits of your price. But the average showing is 10 before a home goes under contract. Now, look, guys, as an agent, if you go to a listing appointment and you show this data to a seller, I promise you, you're the only one that's showing this. It is mind-blowing for a seller to see the average number of showings before a house goes under contract, and take it from somebody who has shown this to sellers. They've never seen it before. Okay. We do have that showings per listing, but having an average or a median showings before a home goes under contract is mind-boggling. And it is such an excellent piece of knowledge. And if you're doing yourself a disservice, if you can find this information and you're not taking it to your listing appointments. Now, if your MLS or your association uses a showing service like Showing Time, I usually like to call those people up if I'm making an appointment, because sometimes I'll get somebody really nice on the phone and I'll say, can I ask you a question? Because sometimes you can see the showings that are scheduled and sometimes you can't. Have there been a lot of showings scheduled on this house? And a lot of times they'll tell you. And this is a piece of data that if I can't see it on the app, I'd like to know how many showings there are. And if they say, yeah, there's not too many, then this gives me a good piece of information if I've got a buyer that wants to make an offer on this house. And especially if the agent was like, oh yeah, we're loaded with showings, and they're not, it could help you make a better offer for your client and show, hey, look, I talked to the gal over at the showing service. Our average showings per home before they go under contract is 10, and they've had 2. I think you're in good shape. I think you can make a more aggressive offer on this house. Okay. Now, some of the other information here, we've already talked about how many new listings, pending sales, day on market. But there's another thing that I want you to take a look at if you can find this information. Do not forget this data, these couple of drop-down boxes. For any of you that have not been in the market 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 years, it is a very good piece of information to take a look at what has happened in the last 10 years, especially when we're looking at sales price. How many of you have had a buyer that said, yeah, I'm going to wait until the market or until prices drop? Now, I can tell you right now, in January, it's a good time to buy because prices do tend to retract a little bit. But any of you seen from 2014 to 2024 where we've had a significant drop in price? No. And when inventory is super low in my market like it is, there's no expectation of any sort of crash, price reductions, significant price reductions, anything, because we just don't have enough inventory. One of the issues, besides all the lending stuff in 2008, was there was a significant oversupply of inventory in 07, 08. So if you weren't in that market, just know that we're not there now. Okay. This 10-year look gives you a really good idea of what happens to the market year over year. And even if I didn't have these January markers down here, I could probably find January pretty quickly because January, February, things kind of retract for us. Then they increase. Then they start retracting again as it gets colder. And then they increase as we get into spring and summer. And every year has been a very similar peak and valley from month to month. Okay. If you're having issues with being able to talk about a spring market, a summer market, a fall market, a winter market, depending on where you're at, this is a very good teaching tool for you. You can look at how many homes were listed in December versus May. And you can see my top listing months, right? You can see where everybody's working. And then we get about, October. And look what happens in October. All right. I joke that in October, this is when most of the agents quit working until February, and they go, holy crap, haven't had any closings since October, so I better get back to work. So everybody's back on it. Okay. But October things drop like a rock, and then they climb again after the new year. Okay. This is great information for you guys. And I hope that you won't ignore this from now on. Okay. Going into a listing appointment, talking to your buyers. If you're not sure of what's going on in the market, this is where you can find it. Now, I want to show you briefly two other things, one of which is showing time. Can you see this, Debbie? Can you see kind of where just gray?
Yeah, I
This
see
is my
gray.
showing
Yes.
time screen.
Yes.
If you go over here to reports on the left side, there's a really great report called Target Market Analysis. And if you will, this is just like the last month, and I'm going to go to the price range of 350 to, I don't know, let's go 500 here. And I'm going to do increments of $10,000 in Mecklenburg County again. I'm not good at these little scrolly things. And submit. This is where I'm talking about price bracketing. If you're in a listing appointment and you've got a client that's like, hey, or you think, I think we need to be around the 405, 407 number. And then you pull up this data and you're like, holy crap, this is not one of the better price brackets, 400 to 409, 900. Either we need to be below that 400 number just a little bit, or pop into the 410, 411 price bracketing. Take a look at how many more showings are in the 410 to 419.9 versus 400 to 409.9. Now, this is very nuanced and a little bit, nitpicky, but if you're going round and round with your client about a number, you can pull this data up and say, look, we either need to be a little bit below this or a little bit above this, but we don't need to be at 408 because the data is showing me that we've got fewer showings here than either the price bracket before that or after that. Again, this is mind-blowing information for a seller. You come in with stuff like this, and they're going to know that you know exactly what you're talking about in this market. Okay. Now below here are the percentages. Okay. You can take a look. Look at this one. This is very interesting. This 500 bracket. I would not list a house between 500 and 510. Okay. I would be definitely below the 500 number. Okay. Anybody ever seen this before? Raise your hand. Taking a look at this data? No, right? You think this would be helpful to you? Yeah, yeah. Okay. One other thing. All right, Anne, I'm in New York City. I'm in a place, or some place where we don't have this kind of data. Where can I find some data to help me instead of me just running MLS searches? So here is a website that I want you to take a look at. And it's actually a really good website, whether you have this information in your MLS or not. It's called Altos Research. So it's ALTOS research.com. Okay. You do not have to be a member. You do not have to pay anything. I'm all for agents not paying for anything. But all you're going to do is go over to product and go to market reports. And then run a report. And I'm going to do Charlotte. Hit search, view report, and look at that. Now this is Charlotte, not the county, but we're going to get a similar median list price. We're going to get a similar price per square foot. We're going to get a similar average day on market, price increases, price decreases, the amount of inventory. And then you can use this little drop-down box to take a look at what's, to have that graph and that visual for your clients. So I don't want anybody to feel left out in the data, but at the very least, Altos Research is going to allow you to pull data so you can still show your buyer, your listing appointment seller that, look, I'm digging into this data. I've got some charts and graphs for you to, and look, this book, Versatile Selling, that I was telling you about earlier, if you get a client that is an engineer, which is like a real estate agent's, enemy. I went to a Tom Ferry conference in San Diego once, and it was real estate agents and nuclear engineers. It was like the opposite group of peoples that could ever be opposite of each other in the same building. But if you get somebody like that, you're going to have to kill them with charts and graphs and information and data. Don't forget about this stuff, okay? And I promise you, instead of us being on like a half a rung down the ladder from a used car salesperson, if every agent would dig into this data, we'd have a much better reputation than we do. Because, this information's power. Our contracts are power. Market data is power. And if you're writing an offer and these houses are all overpriced, these homes are being sold at 92% of list price, that's powerful to you. And that shows your client that you really know what you're doing and you have their best interests at heart. And I'm at 10:39 and I think I'm out of time. I could talk about this stuff all day long, and I know I've missed some stuff. But I did want to show you all that, y'all, there's a lot out there that we're ignoring.
Yeah, well, thanks, Anne. I'm going to just mention a couple of questions that I see here in Miranda asks, my showing time doesn't have that target market analysis. Could it be called something else? I'm only seeing things for the listing I currently have.
You might want to you might want to reach out to Showing Time and see why you're not able to see, um, do you not have, when you log in, any reports? Now, look, if you're looking at the app, you're not going to see it. You've got to log in on a computer. Does that help any?
No, I mean, I'm on the computer. I got
Okay.
pricing benchmark report, but it says I have to buy it. Market stats, agent activity report, listing activity report, and showings I've received. So all of that has to do with my current listing, but it won't let me do what you did, where just what happens with this number?
I would reach out to Showing Time and ask them. It may, I'm going to blame it on the board that you're associated with.
Could be.
Because I like to blame our association boards for a lot of things. So I'm going to blame it on that, but I would reach out to them and see to make sure that that's not data that you can find.
Okay.
Okay. And like I said, not I'm sure some of you guys have data that I don't even have. So, we do the best that we can with what we've got.
Okay, thanks. Crystal asked, one, if you could repeat the interpretation of the absorption rate. So that's the first question. Secondly, she asked if you could help her understand a report. And I'm going to say, let's have Anne and Crystal
Of
connect
course.
afterwards,
Of
so
course.
you can do that. But your interpretation of the absorption rate.
Okay. So whenever you hear anything about months of inventory, um, you know, we're dealing with how much inventory is in our market. And the absorption rate and months of inventory is basically the same thing. So you're taking the number of homes that have sold in a period of time, divide that by the number of active under contracts, because anything that's under contract still is not closed, and you're going to get a number, and then you divide that by your 12 months. Okay. And I can do a class on that all day long as well. We can really dig into numbers, but the assumption is, if you have, let's just take basic data, 800 listings that were listed in December, okay? And we have, let's say, 8,000 listings on the market. If no other homes are listed, okay, and homes are selling at 800 homes a month, how long will it take for those 8,000 homes to be sold? Okay. That is our months of inventory. And that's as great as my math on the fly can get, which means that we have like 10 months of inventory, which none of us have seen probably in a long time. But fact of the matter is I'm sorry, without a calculator, I'm stuck. But the assumption is you've got X amount of inventory, you've got a monthly amount of new listings, you've got a monthly amount of sold listings. If those homes sell at the same amount, I'm sorry, I screwed that up. If you've got 8,000 listings and you've got 800 that sell every month, nothing else comes in the market, how long will it take for all of those to sell? That is your absorption rate. That is your months of inventory. Okay. I hope that makes sense. I'm talking over myself this morning, but it is something that we as agents, I don't think we understand enough of. But it's also, a lot of people hear that in the market. You hear it on the news. There's, especially during the REO markets, where there was 7 or 8 or 9 months of inventory, or after when there were all these short sales and not a lot of buyers in the market. And the market was at its lowest point in like 2010, 2011, where we had so much inventory and not a lot of buyers because everybody had their house foreclosed on 2 years prior to that. That's where we heard that inventory number a lot. Now we don't hear it as much because we just know we don't have really jack crap to sell because there's no houses on the market for so many reasons, but one of which is that any of us that bought houses in the last few years have interest rates at 3.2% and we're not going anywhere. So be aware of the numbers of the amount of inventory coming in and the amount of inventory going out. Okay. You got to pay attention to those numbers.
Excellent. Thank you, Anne, for explaining that. I'm gonna stop
Debbie,
the recording. Yes, Ray.
can I jump in real quick? And I have a
Of
question.
course.
We have title companies to help us, right? And serve us. Is there any data that you covered today that's available or that we can lean on a title company for?
I can't answer that because I'm in an attorney state.
Okay.
But yes, there are. You can reach out to title companies and they can help you with things. Frankly, when I was in a title state, I used title companies for more things like contact or, like addresses for people that had purchased their home 6+ years ago and, prices were going up significantly. So I could reach out to them and see if they wanted to sell because they had tons of inventory or tons of equity in their home. But I really feel like even if you can go to a title company for this information, if you have an MLS that has some sort of statistical data tied to it, you really got to get good at doing this for yourself on your own as an independent thinking human being in our market.
Okay, so then my last question is to give everybody one action item takeaway. What is the lowest hanging fruit for somebody to take one step forward today and go implement this in their business?
I think that you need to come up with maybe 3 or 4 data points that you're looking at daily, weekly, monthly, and you need to communicate that out into your market, which means that I have to start beating a dead horse that I beat all the time, which is if you're not making phone calls, 5, 10, 15 phone calls a day, talking to people, you have to talk to them somehow. So get on social media and start doing videos about the flipping market and become your local market expert on social media.
I love it. Sounds good. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Anne. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording and we are going to go